Hello, boys and girls and babes. Welcome back to the Janaea Talks Caps podcast. So to catch up anyone who's been out of the loop, an NHL-best record has led to an NHL-best point total for your Washington Capitals, as the Caps are currently first place in the entire NHL with a 22-4-5 record and a ridiculous 49 points in the standings already. They are on pace for 130 points by season's end, and yes, you heard me right, it is almost Christmas, and yet your Washington Capitals have still only lost 4 games in regulation all season long. Just wow. They've continued racking up points in the standings by going 8-1-1 in their last 10 games. They are currently riding a 6-game winning streak, and they just wrapped up a 4-0-0 road trip, which was their first 4-0-0 road trip since February of 1993, just a month before my second birthday. And they won all 4 games in regulation, including a sweep of the 3 games in California, which has over the course of the last decade or so been known as Murderer's Row, the trip through the 3 cities of San Jose, Anaheim, and Los Angeles. And it got that nickname because of how extremely rare it is for an away team to earn a sweep of games in those 3 cities. Anyways, it's the first time in franchise history that the Caps have swept Murderer's Row. Doesn't happen very often for any team in this league. So with that, combined with their recent run of play as a whole, and combined with their record on the season as a whole so far, you could say that they're flying pretty damn high, and even that would probably be considered an understatement. They've been fucking good. And speaking of the Caps on the road, they've gone an NHL-best 14-2-1 on the road so far this season. That is just ridiculous. And I love it because we know from our success in the 2018 Stanley Cup playoffs that being a strong road team is a pretty damn good recipe for success. An NHL record 10 wins on the road in the 2018 postseason got the Capitals the Stanley Cup. So I'm all for this continuing to be a point of focus for the team. They want to win every game, and that includes the games away from home. For the Caps, it really hasn't mattered where they're playing anyways, as they've made themselves feel right at home in basically every building they've played in this season, taking over the barns of other teams and treating them as if they're own to the tune of, like I said, a 14-2-1 record on the road. And that record has been helped in part by a whole lot of offense, as the Caps have scored an NHL-best 112 goals so far, and they don't really drop off at all on the road either, as they're averaging nearly 4 goals per game on the road. So when you score 4 to 5 goals at minimum pretty much every single game, and then you've got a Vezina Trophy winner in Braden Holtby in net, you can see why other teams are having a hard time trying to beat the Caps this season, or any season really, ever since Alex Ovechkin was drafted, but especially this season. This season's Caps are an absolute monster who you do not want to see on your upcoming schedule if you're the opposition. And speaking of offense, the Caps obviously still do have Alex Ovechkin, and even at age 34, he's still on pace for over 50 goals this season. Count me among those who are not at all surprised. But the biggest thing feeding the success of the Caps this season is that they have an NHL-best 6 guys who are already at double digits in goals. Ovechkin, of course, he's got 20. Jakub Vrana's got 15 already, and I will come back to him later. Evgeny Kuznetsov's got 12, despite missing a few games. TJ Oshie's got 11. Tom Wilson's got 11, and future Norris Trophy winner John Carlson's got 11 already as well. So this is a very high-powered, very well-balanced, and very scary if you're the opposition attack for this Washington Capitals team. And it's been so fun to watch. Now, speaking of Jakub Vrana, the kid is a star. He may someday even be a superstar. He's got the talent for it. He's got all of the tools, and perhaps most importantly, he's got the work ethic for it. His teammates consistently rave about him because of how hard he works. He's got really just an amazing attitude. He's just an overall fun guy and a great teammate and a great person. He's always happy whenever you see him at the rink, and it's paying off for young Jake on the ice, where he's got an NHL-best, yes, I did just say NHL-best, 15 even-strength goals. 15 at even strength. 0 stat padding happening on the power play. He's doing all of his damage at 5-on-5. That's more even strength goals than overall NHL goals leader David Pastrnak, who has 25 goals, but he has scored 12 of his goals on the power play. So for Jakub Vrana, given how hard power plays are to come by in the playoffs, I will take young Jake's even strength prowess any day of the week. Thank you very much. He's been amazing. So 15 even strength goals for Jake. And, he continues to get better and better and better with each and every game that he plays in this league. And at just 23 years old, this guy really is the limit for Vrana. And I personally can't wait to go along for the ride. I know all of you probably feel the same if you're Caps fans listening out there. Another big reason for the success of the Capitals offense and the success of the Capitals as a whole has been John Carlson. And I mean, what more can we really say? Honestly, we talk about him during every single episode, but that's because, he's earned it. He deserves it. He deserves all of the talk and all of the praise that he's been getting. He's leading all NHL defensemen in points by a wide margin. And by wide margin, I mean he's got literally 15 more points, also known as 54% more points than the next closest guy, who is Dougie Hamilton of the Canes. Hamilton has 28 points, while Carlson is already at 43. He's on pace to have 114 points this regular season. As a defenseman, those are Bobby Orr type numbers, and Bobby Orr himself has taken notice, by the way, chiming in and saying that he does in fact believe that if any D-man in today's NHL can eclipse the 100-point mark in a season, it will be John Carlson. So that's some high praise for Johnny C, coming from literally the best defenseman to ever play the game. So you could say things are going pretty well for Carlson. Already this season, he's done things that haven't been seen in the NHL in 30 years, and he's really not slowing down at all. Overall, forwards included, he is currently 5th in the NHL in scoring. So one has to ask at this point, do we need to be revising this hashtag from Johnny for Norris to Johnny for Hart? I think we do. It's already a given. He's got the Norris Trophy locked up. I mean, if you listen to the broadcasters from the opposition teams, whenever we're playing a game, they're all saying just to give him the Norris Trophy right now because no one can catch him. And I wholeheartedly agree. So it's exciting times for the Caps and for Carlson. Okay. Now I want to talk about something else that I really love about this team. I'll give you a hint. They're absolutely the best in the NHL at what they do. And that would be the fourth line for the Washington Capitals. Brendan Leipsic, Nick Dowd, and Garnett Hathaway, affectionately nicknamed the DHL Line, because 1, they always deliver, and 2, because Dowd, Hathaway, Leipsic makes the acronym DHL, if you take the first letter from all of their last names, duh. But anyways, it's a cute nickname for a line that is anything but cute. I mean, aesthetically, they're all nice to look at, sure, but their play on the ice is anything but cute if you're an opponent. They are mean, they are nasty, they are rough, they are tough, they will hammer you on the forecheck, and they won't quit until they get the puck back. They are fast, they are aggressive, they never stop skating, they are relentless, they are skilled, they are physical, and they are pests. They can knock guys out of games with clean checks, they can get under your skin and goad you into taking a penalty, which we've seen many times. They can hem you in your defensive zone, which again we've seen many times. They can score, they can play great defense, they can match up against any line, they can play in any situation. They can change the momentum of a game in the Capitals' favor in any number of ways that I just mentioned, along with so many more. And again, we've been seeing all of these things from them all season long, pretty much every game that they've played together. Of course, we've had, some injuries, suspension as well along the way. But now they're back together, and they just do so many things well. They really do everything well. There's just too many things to list when you're talking about the things that they do well. They're just that good, and they're the best fourth line in the NHL this season. And I find it almost hard to believe that we were able to pry all of these 3 players away from the Western Conference. Seriously, what were the Canucks and the Flames thinking, letting these players walk? The LA Kings, too, had Dowd and Leipsic at different points. Vegas had Leipsic before. These teams in the Western Conference are absolutely insane. That's the only explanation I've got. Because these players are amazing, or maybe they're only amazing when they're playing for the Caps, but either way, whatever, I don't care. The point is that they are amazing for us. And the depth on this Caps team is incredible, and our fourth line is a big reason for that. Thankfully, Dowd and Hathaway are already locked up on 3- and 4-year deals, respectively. And I'm sure after seeing what he's doing for us this season, Leipzig will receive a multi-year extension from the Caps as well. All three of them have just been incredible. Now, for some even better news, the even better news is that our depth is about to get even a whole lot better as superstar Nicklas Backstrom is about to return to the lineup for the Caps. Yes, you may not have noticed as the Caps have been on a 6-game winning streak, but the Caps have actually been playing without their top center for weeks now. He's missed the last 8 games in a row, but he suffered no setbacks in his recovery from an upper body injury, and so he is set to return against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Backstrom was practicing in his usual spot on the top line alongside Alex Ovechkin and Tom Wilson, as well as in his usual spot on the top power play unit, so it does seem as if he will be full go right away against Columbus. That's bad news for the Blue Jackets, who already cannot win any hockey games. Maybe a game on the road in a raucous barn against the number 1 team in the NHL who knocked you out of the playoffs on their way to winning the Stanley Cup. Maybe that's exactly what the Blue Jackets need to break out of the sad funk that they're in. We shall see. Anyways, for the Caps, barring any injuries in practice leading up to the game against the Blue Jackets, this will be the first fully healthy lineup that Washington has iced all season. And that's really what makes their NHL-best record even more impressive, is the fact that they've been racking up all of these wins even while playing consistently undermanned, sometimes severely undermanned. They've had multiple injuries pretty much all season long so far. And so in game number 32 of the season, it will be nice to finally get a look at our full lineup. Now, the last thing that I want to touch on is just that most recent game against the Anaheim Ducks, because, it was really a perfect summary of these two teams. On the one hand, you have the Anaheim Ducks, bottom of the standings, but somehow in their own heads still think they're the shit for some reason. Maybe their mommies gave them lots of participation trophies when they were kids. I don't know. It's confusing. But anyways, on the other hand, you have the Caps, recent Cup winners, top spot in the NHL standings this season, just cruising right along and doing what they do best, which is winning lots of hockey games. So, of course, it comes back to the whole Garnett Hathaway versus Erik Goodbranson and the spitting incident, right? So before the game, both teams said all of the right things, saying that the most important thing in this game was going to be the 2 points that were on the line and not any sort of perceived retribution or revenge or whatever. So that's great. But apparently only one team actually meant what they said, and that team was the Capitals. The Caps went out and played hockey. Played good hockey, and won the game and got the 2 points. The Ducks, meanwhile, were trying to goad the Caps, and Hathaway in particular, into a bunch of shenanigans. Now, the thing that I love about Garnett Hathaway and about the Caps in general is that Garnett Hathaway and the Caps in general are smart. They're very smart. They know that there's a time and a place for everything, and that time and place is not during a tie game on the road when you are, in fact, interested in winning the game and winning the 2 points in the standings. So it's not that Hathaway or the Caps won't stand up for themselves. Quite the opposite, actually. They will stand up for themselves, and they did stand up for themselves once they had smartly staked themselves to a 2-0 lead in the game first. And for the record, I don't think anyone other than Ryan Getzlaf, Erik Goodbranson, and the Ducks would ever accuse the Caps of running away from a problem. Everyone and their grandmothers knows that this Caps team is tough. They're the toughest team in the league. Everyone knows it. Everyone says it. It is a big part of how they won the Stanley Cup, after all. They're big, they're strong, they're mean, they'll kick your ass. Everyone knows it. But the Ducks, being bitchy after having lost the game, decided to somehow inexplicably blame themselves losing the game on the fact that Hathaway didn't fight as early as they would have liked him to. Newsflash, buds. Hathaway is not on your schedule. He's on a winning schedule, something you obviously cannot relate to, but that's fine. But the point is that he is allowed to fight whenever the hell he wants to, and as long as he does it at some point during the game, sticks to the code or whatever, then it's all good. And he did that. He fought Goodbranson, and like I said, after his Caps had staked themselves to a 2-0 lead in the game. That's when he did it, because he's smart. The Ducks, on the other hand, are a bunch of dumbasses. Not that they would have beaten the Caps anyway, but they didn't even really give themselves a chance because they were too overly concerned with getting revenge on Garnett Hathaway, which, like I said, suited the Caps just fine. They're happy to play hockey, score goals, take a multi-goal lead, and then deal with their business thereafter. And that's exactly what they did. Evgeny Kuznetsov scored on the power play while Erik Gudbranson was in the box serving an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty incurred when he was going after, you guessed it, Garnett Hathaway, proving that Gudbranson does not understand this whole concept of there's a time and a place. He put his team in a hole, and Kuznetsov on the Caps made him pay. Kuzi's power play goal gave the Caps a 2-0 lead that the Ducks could ultimately never recover from, and the Ducks lost in regulation for the 13th time this season. So, the Caps scoring while Gudbranson is in the box for going after Hathaway, serving an unsportsmanlike penalty. That's poetry if I've ever seen it. After the game, even though Hathaway did fight Gudbranson, the Ducks, for some reason, still could not stop talking about Hathaway. I guess they just really, really like him. Like, they're obsessed with him, actually. Ducks captain Ryan Getzlaf said Hathaway is, and I quote, cowardly for not having fought Gudbranson earlier in the game, because apparently everyone should be on Ryan's schedule. Okay, well, you know what I think is cowardly? I think it's cowardly to captain your team to the bottom of the standings year after year after year. But hey, maybe that's just me. The Ducks lost in regulation again in Winnipeg on Sunday, by the way, so they now have 12 wins and 18 losses on the season and sit in second to last place in the entire Western Conference. So, that's great for them. Look, I'm all for talking smack, but do it before the game and or during the game. Don't do it after you just got your ass kicked by a team for the second time in 2 weeks, because that is just sad. We took 4 out of 4 standings points from you. We're in first place. You're in second to last place. You're but a tiny speck of poo on the bottom of our shoe. And hey, if you're going to talk about being cowardly, it'd be a lot better for your optics if you didn't run off of the ice every time that Tom Wilson stepped onto it. I'm just saying. The Ducks do a whole lot of talking right up until Big Tom comes out for his shift, and then suddenly they're all getting the hell out of Dodge and saying, sorry, excuse me, please, thank you, while sipping tea and dabbing their mouths with napkins while calling Tom sir and offering him their seat. We all know who the boss is in here, the same guy who's the boss in every arena, and that is Tom Wilson. So unless you're going to say something to him, unless you're even going to look at him, instead of just avoiding eye contact and hustling over to take your seat in the safety of the confines of the bench every time he steps onto the ice, then please do not talk to us about cowardly. And I guarantee you that's why Tom is laughing at them, because number one, you're at the bottom of the standings. You're irrelevant. And number two, I would murder every single one of you using only my left thumb. That's what he's thinking when he's laughing at them, I guarantee you. Anyways, the Ducks can enjoy the basement of the league standings. We will enjoy our perch at the very top. And tonight, we've got a game against John Tortorella and the Blue Jackets. So at least we know that even if the Blue Jackets play a boring game, at least the press conference from Torts afterwards will be entertaining, as always. Until next time, Caps fans, stay classy. Don't forget to subscribe to us if you haven't already. We're on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, pretty much anywhere and everywhere that you could get your podcasts from. Like our Facebook page as well, Janaea Talks Caps, and leave us a review. Send us any comments or questions or things that you would like to hear talked about on future episodes. Any questions that you want answered, etc. And as always, babes, let's go Caps!